Planetary height, tall, short, average build, the sun, part 1. Let's begin with a fascinating classical detail. Planets are assigned physical builds, and these clues can help us understand how a person carries themselves, both physically and energetically. The sun, for instance, is considered of average height. This doesn't necessarily mean someone will be exactly medium built, but rather that the sun imparts a balanced physical presence, neither too towering nor too diminutive. When the sun is in the ascendant or strongly influencing the first house, it usually gives a person a well-proportioned body, upright posture, and a regal bearing. You might notice they naturally hold their head high or walk with authority. The build is steady, not heavyset or thin, almost like they hold their body with natural command. This matches the sun's archetype as a king, dignified, centered, and composed. Now, if the sun is placed with a tall planet like Jupiter or Saturn, the native may appear taller than average. Jupiter adds bulk and fullness, while Saturn adds length and leanness. A Sun-Saturn conjunction in the Lagna often results in someone who is tall, perhaps bony, with a serious or solemn air. The dignity of the sun remains, but it's now filtered through Saturn's slow, lean energy. On the other hand, when Sun conjoins a short planet like Mercury or Mars, it can influence the overall build toward a more compact frame. Sun-Mars, especially in a fiery sign, often produces individuals who are not particularly tall, but are athletic, energetic, and carry a strong physical core. This makes them look grounded, confident, and active, less about height, more about presence. Sun with Venus tends to maintain an average height, but gives the person a striking balance, grace with authority. This pairing often creates a symmetrical body and a pleasing charisma. The person may not be towering, but their magnetism makes them stand out. They walk in like they belong in the room, and others take notice, not because of size but aura. Now let's consider Rahu or Ketu with the sun. Rahu, being tall and amplifying in nature, can exaggerate the sun's traits, making the native seem more prominent or intimidating. This can also create a persona that's larger than life. Ketu, however, often brings a subtle leanness or detachment, which might temper the sun's ego and make the physical body look a bit more understated, even mysterious. When the sun is in signs that promote height, like Sagittarius or Aquarius, it may stretch the body a bit, especially if Jupiter or Saturn are involved. In signs like Leo or Libra, the average stature remains, but the presence becomes stronger due to solar confidence. What really matters is how the sun expresses its identity. Strong solar placements make the native carry themselves with visible purpose. So in chart reading, sun's height cue isn't just about measuring inches, it's a lens to see how someone projects themselves into the world. A strong sun brings poise, proportion, and visibility. And when you mix that with conjunctions, sign placements, and house influences, you start seeing not just how tall someone looks, but how they stand out. Planetary glances, upward, downward, straight, sideways, the sun part 1. Let's now explore one of the lesser-known but deeply symbolic traits in Vedic astrology, the glances of planets. Each planet is believed to have a natural direction in which it looks, and this subtle quality reveals a lot about the planet's core disposition and how it expresses itself through the personality. We begin with the sun, whose glance is traditionally considered upward, a reflection of its lofty ambition, royal pride, and quest for higher purpose. When the sun is prominent in the chart, especially in the first house or 10th, it often gives the native a natural upward tilt in their posture or gaze. These individuals may literally look above the horizon when they speak, walk with their chin raised, or carry an air of dignity. This upward glance isn't arrogance, it's orientation. The sun is a planet that represents ego, identity, and dharma, and its gaze is fixed on purpose, goals, and leadership. You'll often notice this upward glance quality in people who hold leadership roles or who naturally radiate authority. They may not always be loud or aggressive, but their presence tends to command space. A strong sun makes people walk like they have a direction, like they're answering a call that others might not even hear. Their eyes don't linger on the crowd. They look past it, toward the destination. Now, when the sun is conjoined with planets that have a downward or sideways glance, this upright quality can shift. For example, if the sun is with Saturn, which has a downward glance, the native may still have ambition, but it may carry a weight, like someone striving under pressure or reaching upward while feeling downward pull. The posture may remain strong, but there might be a seriousness in the eyes. With Venus or Mercury, both associated with sideways glances, the sun's direct and upward orientation becomes more socially aware. These natives may still seek status or recognition, but they temper it with charm or strategy. The gaze isn't just fixed on the top. It now considers how to move through people to get there. The result is someone who leads with grace or cleverness rather than sheer command. Sun with Moon, which has a straight-ahead glance, creates a person with steady focus. The upward aspiration of the sun combines with the emotional constancy of the moon. These individuals often look determined and emotionally composed, especially in the eyes. Their gaze reflects both direction and sincerity, which makes them natural role models or trustworthy figures in leadership. When the sun is placed in fiery or airy signs, this upward glance trait gets even stronger. In Leo or Sagittarius, the native's vision may become lofty, idealistic, and self-driven. Their posture and gaze reflect inspiration, sometimes bordering on idealism. In contrast, if the sun is in earthy or watery signs, the gaze may remain upward, but it may also soften, blend with caution or emotional depth. So what does the sun's upward glance really tell us? It suggests a personality that looks toward elevation, spiritually, professionally, or socially. These are people who carry themselves with a sense of direction, vision, and pride. They may not always be the tallest in the room, but they'll often be the ones others look up to. Because when the sun leads the way, it's not just walking, it's aiming. Planetary height, tall, short, average build, the moon. Now let's explore the moon, which is classically described as short in stature. But here's where things get nuanced. A strong moon doesn't always mean a small body. It often points to a soft, rounded, and nurturing appearance. People with prominent moon influence tend to have fuller faces, expressive eyes, and a kind of comforting presence, even if they aren't physically tall. When the moon is in the ascendant or in close proximity to it, you'll often see a person with a charming softness in their appearance. The frame may be smaller or compact, but there's typically a magnetic pull. People feel safe or soothed in their presence. Think of the moon as motherly, less about height, more about emotional gravity. It's the kind of person you want to talk to, not because they tower over others, but because they radiate emotional accessibility. Now, if the moon is conjoined with taller planets like Jupiter or Saturn, it can slightly offset the short stature tendency. For instance, Moon Jupiter may give a fuller body with a rounded figure and cheerful appearance. Moon Saturn, however, might make the body leaner, but retain that gentle expression, combining seriousness with empathy. Even in such cases, though, the moon's influence softens the overall physical presentation. If the moon is with another short planet like Mercury or Mars, the native may lean more towards being petite or having a delicate frame. Moon Mercury, for example, tends to create a light, agile body, youthful and quick. Moon Mars may produce someone smaller, but more reactive and emotionally expressive, sometimes even hyperactive. Their body might move fast, with emotion reflected clearly in gestures. When conjoined with Venus, the moon creates a pleasing, almost artistic body type, balanced, harmonious, and soft-featured. The height may still remain on the shorter side, but the aura becomes captivating. These individuals often have a gentle way of walking or speaking, and they usually carry natural elegance, regardless of how tall they are. Now bring Rahu into the mix. When Moon and Rahu are together, it can cause exaggeration in body features. While Rahu is tall, it may not necessarily make the person tall here. Instead, it can give them an unusual presence. Think of someone who might not be physically imposing, but there's something haunting or hypnotic in their look. With Ketu, it's the opposite. There can be emotional distance reflected in a quieter, sometimes thinner frame. Signs also play a big role. Moon in Cancer or Taurus, where it's strong or exalted, gives a healthier, fuller build, even if height remains modest. But in signs like Virgo or Scorpio, the body might appear more compact, with a mysterious or sharp edge. The sign modifies how the moon's emotional sensitivity is housed in the body. So with the moon, it's less about being tall or short in the literal sense, and more about how softness, vulnerability, and emotional presence show up in someone's body and face. A strong moon might not make you tall, but it can make you unforgettable in the most subtle, soulful way. Planetary glances, upward, downward, straight, sideways. The moon, part 2. Now let's talk about the moon, whose natural glance is considered straight ahead. Unlike the sun's upward, goal-focused gaze, the moon looks directly outward, calmly, gently, and attentively. This straight-ahead glance reveals a lot about the moon's emotional intelligence and its core role as a reflector of experiences. When the moon is strong in a chart, especially in the Ascendant or 4th house, you'll often find individuals whose eyes are level, sincere, and deeply responsive. People with prominent moon energy tend to engage with the world through emotional awareness. Their gaze often feels present, grounded, and receptive. It's not piercing or evasive, it's open. They look at you, not past you or through you. This is why moon-dominant individuals often make excellent listeners, caregivers, counselors, or artists. Their body language says, I see you, I hear you, I feel with you. The straight-ahead glance also translates into emotional stability, or at least the desire for it. While the moon itself is ever-changing when it governs a chart, it brings a centeredness in how the person meets life. They may adapt, but they do so with awareness. You'll notice their body and face are rarely dramatic or overacted. They show emotion clearly but calmly through their eyes and tone, not force. Now, when the moon is conjoined with an upward-glancing planet like the sun or Mars, this calm, steady gaze becomes more directed. Moon-sun combinations often give a dignified and stable expression, straight eyes with a subtle upward purpose. Moon-Mars can add intensity or urgency to the gaze, as if emotions are just beneath the surface, ready to act. You may see faster movement in the body, but the eyes still try to stay connected and aware. If the moon is with a downward-glancing planet like Saturn or Rahu, the natural directness may get tinged with heaviness or caution. Moon-Saturn can produce someone who still looks at you but with guarded eyes. There's a depth, even sorrow, behind the gaze, like someone who's present but processing a lot internally. Moon Rahu can add anxiety or restlessness, making the gaze fluctuate between contact and avoidance. With Venus or Mercury, both sideways glancing planets, the moon's directness becomes more socially fluid. Moon Venus gives a gentle, affectionate gaze, warm, compassionate, and aesthetically pleasing. Moon Mercury adds playfulness and curiosity to the emotional gaze. These individuals may come across as emotionally engaging, but also witty or clever in how they express feelings. The moon in water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, enhances the sincerity of its straight glance. You often see deep, soulful eyes that reflect emotion with clarity. In earth signs, the straight-ahead look becomes practical and calm. In fire signs, there's more vitality. In air signs, more detachment, but the orientation remains level, not upward or evasive. So when the moon leads the chart, the body doesn't rise in pride or dip in doubt. It meets the world as it is. The straight-ahead glance of the moon reflects empathy, connection, and presence. These are people who often become emotional mirrors to those around them. Not because they try, but because their gaze naturally says, I'm here with you. Planetary height, tall, short, average build, Mars, part 3. Let's now look at Mars, the fiery warrior of the zodiac. Classical texts describe Mars as short in stature, and this physical shorthand gives us a deeper sense of how Mars expresses itself in the body. Individuals with strong Mars influence, especially when Mars is in the Ascendant, often have a compact, athletic build. They may not be tall, but they look physically capable, with strong shoulders, quick movements, and a walk that says, I'm ready. When Mars occupies the first house or aspects it, the native's body tends to reflect that martial quality, firm muscles, sharp features, and intense eyes. There's usually a kinetic energy about them, almost as if they're always in motion. Their height might be on the shorter or average side, but their energy fills the room. You won't overlook a strong Mars person, not because of how big they are, but because of how they move. Mars with Jupiter, which is a tall and expansive planet, can modify the short stature of Mars slightly. A Mars-Jupiter conjunction in the Lagna may produce someone with a stocky yet powerful frame. Think of a disciplined athlete. Jupiter adds weight or roundness, but Mars ensures strength and agility. The result is a solid, grounded presence that still carries intense drive. With Saturn, Mars becomes more angular and lean. Mars-Saturn combinations in the Ascendant often make the body wiry and taut, sometimes giving a stern or even severe look. These individuals are often perceived as hard, tough, or even intimidating. Again, not because of height, but because of structure and edge. There's a sense of steel in their bones. Mars with Venus often results in a more balanced appearance. The person may still be shorter or average in height, but Venus softens Mars's rough edges. You get physical beauty with strength, graceful assertiveness. This is common in performers, dancers, or those who need to combine charisma with energy. Their body moves like it knows exactly what it wants. With Rahu, Mars gets a boost, sometimes not in height, but in intensity. Rahu amplifies Mars's aggressive drive, which can translate into a hyper-alert physical body. The frame may remain short or medium, but the person comes across as fierce, even volatile. There's a certain rawness here. Think of someone who walks like they're entering a battlefield, every time. Mars-Ketu conjunctions can go the other way. Ketu tends to reduce physical presence or draw attention inward. So even though Mars wants to act, Ketu dampens the visibility. These natives might be extremely capable physically, but they don't show it off. There's a quiet confidence, often paired with sharp eyes and quick movements. Mars placed in signs like Aries or Scorpio strengthens the muscular, active frame, short or medium in height but full of power. In Earth signs like Capricorn, where Mars is exalted, the body becomes leaner, more controlled, almost military-like. Water signs can soften Mars physically, but emotionally intensify it, while air signs may make Mars more agile and twitchy. So with Mars, the height may not be impressive, but the impact always is. Whether it's through muscle, motion, or sheer heat, a strong Mars gives you a body built for challenge, not display. It's not about how tall you stand, it's about how far you're ready to push forward. Planetary glances, upward, downward, straight, sideways, Mars, Part 3. Let's turn to Mars, the planet of action, courage, and drive. Mars is classically said to have an upward glance, similar to the Sun, but with a different flavor. While the Sun's upward gaze is about pride and purpose, Mars's is about readiness and momentum. When Mars is prominent in the chart, especially in the first or third house, you'll often find people whose gaze is alert, lifted, and sharp, like they're scanning for the next challenge or opportunity. A strong Mars often shows up in people who walk quickly, look ahead with intensity, and move with a sense of urgency. Their eyes seem to rise just slightly above eye level, as if always anticipating, always on guard. This upward glance reflects Mars's instinct to conquer, to react, to lead. It's not a lofty vision like the Sun's. It's tactical, like a soldier on the battlefield, eyes on the horizon, ready to strike. These individuals often appear bold and direct. Their body language reflects a state of action. They don't slouch, they lean forward. Their gaze tells you they're not here to wait, they're here to do. This gives them a commanding, even confrontational presence. They may not be physically imposing, but the way they look and move can feel charged, fast, and decisive. Now, when Mars is with a downward-looking planet like Saturn or Rahu, this sharp upward quality becomes more layered. Mars-Saturn often produces a stoic, tightly controlled expression. The eyes may still look up, but with restraint or calculation. The action urge of Mars is there, but slowed and measured. Mars-Rahu can exaggerate the upward glance into something restless or volatile. Eyes that dart upward too quickly, movements that burst without planning. With sideways glancing planets like Mercury or Venus, Mars becomes more social or strategic. Mars-Mercury gives a sharp, clever look, like someone sizing up a debate before jumping in. The upward glance remains, but now it's paired with a fast mind. Mars-Venus creates a balance between aggression and charm. These natives might look ahead with confidence, but carry their body in a more refined or attractive way. When Mars is with the Moon, who has a straight-ahead gaze, you often get emotional intensity in the eyes. The upward push of Mars meets the steadiness of the Moon, producing someone whose eyes lock onto you, but with heat. You can feel when they're upset, excited, or fired up. The body is ready to act, but the emotions show clearly through their gaze. Sign placement also colors Mars's glance. In Aries or Scorpio, the upward gaze is bold and pronounced. These people often appear commanding or competitive. In earthy signs like Capricorn, where Mars is exalted, the gaze becomes upward but disciplined, calculated, firm, and driven. In water or air signs, the glance may be more scattered or masked, but the upward charge of Mars is still there beneath the surface. So when Mars defines the glance, it's not just about direction, it's about intent. These individuals don't just look up, they aim. The upward gaze of Mars says, I'm moving forward. Are you with me or in my way? It's not dreamy, it's tactical. In every glance, there's momentum.